Hey everybody, welcome back. This is our last Q&A of the day. We've left a very special guest for the end, which is Victor, who is the coral caretaker. I am so excited to meet you, Victor, and we have got so many questions already. So we will get started, but I'm wondering whether you could maybe introduce yourself and tell us where you are today, but also where you are normally based.
Yeah, so my name is Victor Bonito. I'm the director of Reef Explorer Fiji, a research and development company that I founded some 21 years ago now, on the southwest coast of Fiji's largest island at Viti Levu. Today I'm here on the east coast of the United States in North Carolina. I just flew in yesterday to come and visit some family and friends here, and I'm happy to join you all today.
Such good timing to chat to you on World Ocean Day. I am going to jump straight in with the questions because there's some really good ones here. The very first one, how is climate change affecting our coral reefs?
Well, yeah, coral reefs are really on the front end of climate change. They're one of the ecosystems in the world where we can see climate change having very drastic effects. We just have actually wrapped up what scientists consider to be the fourth global coral bleach affecting coral reefs. As our oceans are getting warmer, these hotter temperatures are affecting corals and the symbiotic algae that live inside of them and help them to grow and to build these big structures over time. And as this symbiotic partnership breaks down, we get what we call a bleached coral. It's basically a coral animal that has ejected its a plant symbiont that provides most of the energy for it to grow. And so we're losing corals at unprecedented rates, unfortunately, around the world as our oceans are getting warmer from climate change. And then we have another problem called ocean acidification, which also affects corals because they make hard skeletons using calcium carbonate in the water in the ocean. And as our ocean is becoming more acidic, the pH is changing. It makes it harder for corals to make the hard skeleton and to actually build the reef structure. Um, so our oceans are affected by a lot of different things. But climate change is one way that even societies that are far away from reefs, they are having a big impact on these ecosystems and the people who depend on them.
Yeah, and I'm wondering whether, so I have a really good question here from the Culloden Academy in Scotland, which is asking you what the best part of your job is. But before we get to that, maybe tell us a little bit about your job. What is it that you guys do?
Yeah, so I work with local communities here in Fiji, both indigenous fishing right owners, as well as local university graduates who work in tourism and other industry, all around marine conservation, building local capacity and knowledge about our oceans, conducting very applied research to help us understand how to best manage our coral reef resources locally, and evaluate the management plans that we have, what's working, what's not working. And then a big part of my research also focuses around understanding how climate change is affecting reefs, but how reefs also how reefs are responding and even potentially adapting to our changing oceans. And coral restoration is a big part of this sort of active interventions that we do on top of other management activities. So I also run a pretty good size coral restoration program and do a lot of capacity building with tourism partners in that. So it has me in the ocean a lot, which brings me to your next question, which was about, what's the best part of my job? And I'll say the best part of my job is I'm in the ocean and exploring the very environment that I love to study and that I'd like to see preserved on our planet. I get to spend the first half of my day in the water Monday to Friday, and to live right on a beautiful beach in Coral Reef where Yeah, sometimes in the tropics it can get hot, but we just jump in. We call it the front yard or my first office. Hey, the reef is right there. Um, my
What a
office is right
what
on
a
the
cool way
shore.
to what a cool way to start the day. I have a question from Rowan from Wavy Blue Sea Learning. And Rowan asks, what are some of the names you've given coral you've discovered? Let me just say, this is kind of amazing that you have been someone who has named some corals. So yeah, I'd love to know what those names are.
Yeah, so it's great. A lot of people like to study fish and things that we eat in the ocean. Not so many people have studied the corals as extensively, and in very biodiverse, rich regions like Fiji and in the South Pacific, we have a lot of things that are uh, undocumented, species that are new to science still. I have a lot of new species, some still yet to be named, some that have been named. Very traditional taxonomy. You use Latin to describe a organism. So, like Acropora tenuissima is one. Tenuis means thin. Tenuissima means very thin, and this has a coral with very thin branches. And then some we used. One is Acropora vitiensis, named after Viti or Fiji. Some we name after conservation champions in our area. So you get good flexibility in being able to name things. They're just some little bit of basic rules to follow, but.
That is so cool. So that means maybe someone listening today, if they start working in coral reef restoration and become an incredible champion like you, they may get a coral named after them in the future.
Yes, you can't name it after yourself, but maybe somebody would name it after them. That's
Okay,
one of the beauties.
that's so cool. I have another question from Culloden Academy in Scotland. So you talked a little bit about your restoration work. How much coral do you plant in a year?
Our program works at four sites around where my office is. They're four marine protected areas, and we're using coral restoration as a climate adaptation strategy. So we take advantage of natural bleaching events and new technologies that we're working with partners to develop to find the most thermally tolerant or heat tolerant corals on the reef. And then we make more of them and we help them be more reproductively successful. So we have nurseries set up that we use to propagate corals, and we're doing about 10,000 corals a year at our sites. It depends on the site. Some places we have three nurseries, some we have two. And then I work with other tourism partners in different reef systems, and support them to follow the similar processes. I like to think of it, this is sort of helping, giving nature a helping hand. As our climate changes, the weak ones are being weeded out, and we're
Yep.
finding the stronger ones and making more and helping them be more reproductively successful. So, yeah, it's a fun program that has us in the water. And like I say, we're doing about 10,000 corals at our site. Some people are doing a bit less than that. And the idea is that we have many people doing this across the reef system. It can make a difference based on the numbers and working in different areas.
Yeah, it's such important work. And one of the things that we have learned about you and your work is yes, you use this incredible equipment to take photos and to map the coral reef, but you also have been working on a project where you're using these things, just mobile phones. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so we have a project now that's taking advantage of, well, say it's relatively new technology where we can take 2D images and then we can take a lot of photographs of things and use software to be able to create 3D models. And this is really, I would say, in the last 10 years, taken off in the ocean. Up until date now, you need, high resolution cameras. You take thousands of images. You need lots of expensive software to process these images. in order to turn them into 3D models. But project I'm working on now is using smartphones and creating an app to help you capture this imagery in the water and also to help you process this imagery, create the models, and extract the data that you might want out of these models. And so this, I think, is really democratizing access to this photogrammetry tool, and putting this the power to create these models, the opportunity into many more people's hands. And I think this is a very powerful tool for not just remembering what our reefs look like or should look like, but being able to tell story and communicate with others what's happening under the ocean. So I'm really excited about this project using smartphones.
Yeah, it sounds really, really interesting. We've got a question here from Joe who says, "What was your journey into working with corals? How did it start for you?"
First, as a young child, went to Hawaii at the age of 15, and that's I was always interested in nature and being outside. I think I was one of these kids that our mom would call us back at dinner time. We were out exploring outside. But once I went on a coral reef in Hawaii, I was really hooked at all the diversity of different kinds of life that you could find on the reef. And as I explored more. I ended up in the South Pacific as a Peace Corps volunteer out of college and got to explore more diverse reefs, and I was really hooked. It's such an amazing ecosystem that you can constantly go back and find new things. And for me, like I said, a lot of people like to study things you eat, and fish are things that move around, but corals are nice. They stay there. You can come back and see the same coral in the same place the next day, and they're easy to study, easy to photograph. They don't run away like some other animals
You
do.
don't have to chase them down.
You don't have to chase them down. That's right.
What can we do to protect our coral reefs? I guess I'm going to ask on two levels. So
Yeah.
your work is obviously doing incredible things, but also like just anyone that's watching, like what can we do if we're not actually actively involved in restoration like you are?
Well, yeah, a lot of the problems that we face here in Fiji, in the South Pacific, and on coral reefs around the world are driven by local issues. Too many people taking too many fish or pollution from land. And so we work on management locally, to try to reduce those stressors. But some of the problems that we face, like climate change that you mentioned, is not being driven by our local behavior, but by, larger societies and more developed nations around the world, some of which people don't even, are not living next to coral reefs. Right? So, you know, changes that we can make in our daily life that help us address climate change. I like to think, global change starts at home. So, what can we do to change in our lifestyle, to reduce our impact on the planet, as our populations grow and new technologies come out? I think our footprints are getting bigger. So, we just need to be aware of this and think about, well, what kind of small actions can I do at home that if everybody did, it makes a big difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have one last question to you for you, and I think it's a really good one to end on, which is what gives you hope for our ocean's future?
Um, well, over the 20 plus years I've been working in the South Pacific, I see how our approach to community management, or sorry, to marine management, which is very community based, we've seen that people can change their behavior and are willing to change their behavior to bring about positive change in our planet. And I've seen also how corals, and while we can see the big impacts to reefs from human impacts, I think we've also seen corals are more resilient than maybe we once thought, and we can see that there is some hope for them adapting. And I like to be always thinking that there's still water in the glass is half full, not half empty, and that we can come about with the change that we need to bring our lifestyle on this planet to be more sustainable and to save our oceans and the diversity that support us there.
Wow, thank you, Victor, so much. I feel like I've already learnt so much from you. I'm really excited to learn more. Happy World Ocean Day. I hope you have an amazing day. And thank you for all the work you do, and thank you for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day, Victor.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. It's been a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye now.